Good morning, Lou.
Well, Nagi, I think we have all the commissioners here. We're a minute early, so we'll give it till 8.
All right. Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning.
Hi, Nagi.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, good
greetings from
morning.
sunny Salt Lake City.
Yes.
To our
After
sister.
the snowstorm.
What a good-looking group.
Yes, indeed.
Don't you just love springtime in Utah? It's the greatest.
It's the heavenly time.
And
Okay,
good
Carlos,
roads out there.
Carlos, it's 8 o'clock.
Okay, Nagi, let's kick this off here then, because we do have a lot of material. So good morning, commissioners, and this is watching on YouTube. This is our second STIP workshop. As the commissioners know, we have a STIP cycle that Ben will go through here in a minute to refresh us all. And we spend about 4 hours in March going over recommendations from the department, going over performance measures, going over targets, and talking about recommendations at program levels. And today we're going to spend a lot of time talking about projects, some pretty big projects. And the idea is here, as you know, is to probe, ask questions. We make this as, normally we make this as casual as possible. Sorry for myself being dressed up. I'm going to jump off at 8:30 and join another meeting that requires me to be dressed up today. But this is a meeting for us to ask any questions that might be on your minds and to challenge what these recommendations and thought processes are. So we have, most of the department leadership on the call here as a resource. But before we kind of open it up for questions, I'd like to introduce, I'll say, a long-time working acquaintance, somebody who we've had a great relationship with, and we're a little ahead here on the governor's announcement, but he will be sending over former representative, soon-to-be Transportation Commissioner Rhonda Menlove's recommendation to the Senate. So I'm looking at a bunch of, there's Rhonda, my top right now. You moved around. But Rhonda, wave your hand here. And I just want to say how excited I am. As we talked about last time, Wayne is actually this month completing an amazing term of service of 12 years with the Transportation Commission. And feels like just yesterday, Wayne, that John and I were talking to you about taking on an extra assignment, and it's been wonderful for us at the department, and I know the commissioners probably, I know they feel the same way. But Rhonda will be, I have no doubt, sail through Senate confirmation. And the timing is still up in the air a little bit. I believe it will be June when Rhonda will be joining us. But Rhonda, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I have the lucky opportunity to live where Wayne Barlow lives in the beautiful Bear Lake Valley, and my husband and I are retired living here. I'm a former university professor administrator at Utah State University and had the great privilege of serving in the Utah legislature for 10 years. And during that time, I served on Transportation Committee and interim committee standing. So that was a great opportunity to learn. And I've been involved in some road issues in northern Utah as well as Tooele County. So I've had the opportunity to attend a few commission meetings and testify. So I have a little feel for what goes on there. And when I look at this wonderful group of people, I'm delighted and honored to be able to serve and look forward to representing this part of the state and working with you to solve some important issues. So thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. I don't know if any of the commissioners or Nagi, or do you have anything you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Rhonda about experiences in Dubai and Russia for the mission that you served?
Those were amazing. We lived in Moscow for 2 years. It was an incredible opportunity, and everything you read about Russia does not reflect how the Russian people are. They are incredibly friendly, kind. They love Americans. They love to speak English, and we just had a great opportunity there. Saw some amazing things, and then we had the opportunity to serve in Egypt, and we were serving there. We got a phone call, and we're invited to move to Abu Dhabi in the
Oh.
United Arab Emirates and serve there, and we're able to work a little bit in preparation for the Dubai announcement of the temple there. And Abu Dhabi is an amazing, the infrastructure they have there, if you saw it, you would be incredibly jealous. They built their freeways and roadways all designed as part of a nation that's basically 49 years old. So it was incredible to look at their transportation infrastructure. I had no idea I'd be serving here, but that was something that just really impressed me, Carlos. I
Yeah.
thought, wow, looking ahead, they anticipated population and built infrastructure. So they have amazing amount of money.
Yep, I know a couple people that have worked over there as
Yeah.
engineers, and that's the bottom line is they all say there was a lot of money.
Well, to welcome you home tomorrow, part of the presentation will be in Arabic, so you need to translate tomorrow for the rest of it.
That language is very, very difficult, Nagi. It is an amazingly complex language. I am so impressed that with people how they speak it, and it's an amazing language.
Don't worry, I'll help you start and then you finish it up.
Okay, all right.
Go
So-
ahead, Carlos. Go ahead.
No,
It
it
could
might
be an
be good.
interesting discussion.
I'm sorry, Fred. Nagi, it might be good just for each transportation commissioner to maybe just identify themselves and to brief introduction just for Rhonda's sake. So as we have the conversations, you can follow.
By all means, let's just start for the senior ones. Wayne, go ahead and please start with you.
Wayne, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
I'm Wayne Barlow. I have a home in Cache Valley and also one in the Bear Lake Valley. And it's been a great experience to serve as a commissioner. I really loved the pre-COVID time when we had the chance to go all over the state, meet local officials, mayors, and the people in all of the communities throughout Utah. And I'm hoping, I had hoped that we would have at least one live meeting before I retire from this, but I guess that's not going to happen. Maybe June, we shall see, but things are starting to look good. Anyway, it's been a great ride. I've enjoyed it. And I'll look forward to being a fan of the Transportation Commission.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cramer.
Hello, Rhonda. Congratulations. I want to just thank Wayne because we sat next to each other for all those years, many of those years, and won't miss you because we know where to find you, Wayne. But Rhonda, congratulations. Natalie and I both serve on the World Trade Center, Utah. We kept wanting to try and get you in between assignments, but you're always headed off to the next. And they were sure fortunate to have you. I always thought you had the this is probably not the right thing to say, but the nicest smile in the legislature. So we're delighted to have you here and back from all the travels. Look forward to talking about some of those international things because that's much more a part of what we do in America these days. In Utah in particular. I'm a commissioner at large based in downtown Salt Lake. So thank you again. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Law.
Rhonda, welcome to the squad. Donna Law. I do government relations for Southern Utah University, which is how you and I first became acquainted. And I've been on the commission as a member at large for about 4 years. My home is in Cedar City.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans, where's the ukulele? Where's the guitar?
And you just wait. We have a meeting tomorrow, so just hang on there.
Okay.
He's prepping an Earth Day song.
We can't let Wayne get off, so don't worry.
Okay.
Anyway, Jim Evans. I represent Region 3. I live in Orem, and of course, Region 3, the middle part of the state, 6 counties from Utah all the way out to Duchesne, Daggett, Wasatch, Chubb County as well. I worked in the tech industry for many years. Retired a couple years ago. I'm the executive director of America's Freedom Festival at Provo that runs all the celebrations down here. And I also have a home in Lake, and I also, Wayne, my father lives in Providence. So I'm going to be looking for you in Providence or Bear Lake, and we're going to join up for a raspberry shake this summer when I see you both up there.
Uh-oh, we might have a quorum problem here if you guys all get together.
Exactly right. My feeling the same, Carlos. We have to be worried. Commissioner Mantasso, please.
Rhonda, welcome. It's good to be back on a committee with you. It's been a few years, but it's been great. Welcome. You'll be a great asset. I don't think you'll have any problem getting through the Senate, that's for sure. I'm Kevin Mantasso. I'm commissioner at large. I live in Bernal, and we are into our 3rd day of summer today, or spring. We've had a couple of days of winter, but that's spring in Utah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Commissioner Galtner.
Morning, everyone. I'm coming to you today from my basement in Murray, Utah. Representative Menlove and I know each other from times back. Great to see you again, Rhonda. I have enormous respect for you. I was so happy when I saw your face because I knew what it meant. And
thank you.
And yeah, and Wayne, just wonderful getting to know you and serving with you. And the last thing I'll say is you can tell from the sort of generous spirit of the commission what a great culture there is at UDOT, and it's shared here with the commission. And so we're excited to bring you into that. Oh, and I represent Region 2, Salt Lake County and Tooele County.
And Summit.
Sorry, and Summit.
Thank you. And my name is Nagi Zenati. I'm chiming from St. George, Utah. And I have the privilege of serving the commission. And I will say for sure, I'm the luckiest guy on this earth because I have the privilege of serving with the wonderful commissioners, past and present, and you, Rhonda, and the UDOT family. We have the best ever for any place in the world that I've traveled to and I've served in the different committees. This is by far the best, and you will enjoy it. That's the promise. Thank you.
Thank you, Nagi. I was considering whether or not I wanted to do this High Wire Act, but I think it might be helpful, if maybe not a little confusing. So, Rhonda, I'm going to maybe off the top of my head just list some of the UDOT folks here. I'm going to miss some, and I apologize for that. But as you see them more and they speak up more, you'll get to know them. So I'm going to just be looking at my screen here. So Lisa Wilson, wave your hand. Lisa Wilson, she's one of our 2 deputy directors. She's over engineering and operation. And, if you look at the org chart, so the 4 regions report to her, as well as 2 engineering groups. And I'll see if their group leaders are on here. Robert Stewart, I see you. Robert Stewart, Region 2. So that's, the Tooele, Salt Lake, and Summit counties. Robert's the region director over there. Nathan, I see the deputy director of Region 2 sitting next. I don't know how you guys arrange that, Nathan, because I don't know how Google decides who's next to who here. Heather doesn't have her camera on, but I see a big H, so I'm assuming that's Heather Bartho. She's our commission secretary. Heather, are you willing to share a video for?
Okay, so my camera or my laptop is docked, so I don't want to pop it open, but I'm smiling and waving.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Terry Newell is Deputy Director of Planning and Investment. Rhonda, I think you had a chance to spend some time with Terry to get an overview.
Yes, that was very helpful.
Good. Here's an important face and name for you, Rob Wright. Rob, wave your hand. Rob is the Region 1 Director. So your area on the commission is Rob's area as well. So he'll be that first call or contact to help support, answer questions for you. Timing is good here. Ben Hewitt, he'll play a big part of this workshop here. He's spent a lot of time preparing over the last probably 6 months, working up to this point next month. But Ben is over planning and programming in the department, and it's a group level that reports to Terry. Chris Peterson, he's a group leader. He's over project development. So a lot of the hardcore engineering functions of the department fall in Chris's area. He was for probably 6-7 years region director up in Region 1, Rhonda, and I don't know if you had a chance to work with Chris before you left on your mission. Let's see here, who else do I have? Let's see, Rob Clayton. Rob, wave your hand. Region 3 director. So looks like Rob's in his office. He's down in Orem, and as Jim Evans mentioned, he's the 6 counties going across. Charles, I saw you turn your camera on and turn it off. Turn it back on. I'll introduce you. You can't get away that quick. Where are you, Charles? Probably on the other side. There he is. So Charles Stormont, he's our director of right-of-way, and he plays an active role in the commission meetings with corridor preservation, so you'll get to know him. Troy Peterson, Troy, wearing the Zero Fatalities shirt. He's a group leader over operations, so he has a lot of divisions that report to him. And Monty, I don't know if you're in a place you can turn on your camera. I see your picture, but not your face, your camera. Monty Aldridge. No. Monty is deputy director in Region 4. So that's really the entire, there's Monty. Hey, Monty, wave your hand. And then Carmen Swanwick, I see Carmen here. Carmen is deputy director in project development. She's over construction and all of our big projects she's keeping an eye on. So Carmen is a great engineer. Rick Torgerson. Rick, Region 4 director. Rick is with us for a couple hours this morning, but then he has a very important assignment. His daughter is racing at the Y this afternoon. She came in number 2 yesterday, Rick?
Yeah, she did in the HEP. So we're going for day 2 of the HEP, see how she does.
All right. Good luck. Good luck. Let's see here. That's what I see on my camera right now. And again, Rhonda, as we, oh, I see Cheryl Simmons now on the top here. She's our chief structural engineer. I don't know, Cheryl, is that still the title for that position? You're on mute, I think. Okay. I don't know if there's any questions from any of the commissioners on any subject, whether it be what we're going to talk about here today, or on any subject somehow related to transportation that you might have seen in the paper or on anything.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Lou Cramer here. I just wanted to, again, thank about the new signs on East 215 right by my exit. They look beautiful. The skiers now know where they're going, and thank you for that. They really add charm and information to that part of the world. Thank you very much, Lisa. Now this is getting that done. Second point, Senator Mike Lee asked a few of us to get together a business roundtable next week with him here in Salt Lake, just to talk about the pending huge infrastructure bill before Congress. He wants some ideas from various leaders. And I don't know if somebody from UDOT would like to come. I invited Carlton Christensen to come just because of my role in downtown Salt Lake and all. And I obviously can't speak for UDOT directly, but there'll be some leaders there. And I think it'd be just great to have somebody, if, you know, Terry has some of that responsibility, Lisa, I know how busy Carlos is, but something like that, or Lyle McMillan would be great too, to come to talk to the senator in person for an hour on Thursday at 11 o'clock at the Salt Lake Chamber. probably a dozen, 24 people there. Anyway, so that's a possibility for us to look at the broader national picture and see what its impact might be on Utah transportation needs. So any interest?
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Lou. I'll let you know, Lou. We've had a chance. We've been working with the entire delegation to have those conversations, but thank you for that opportunity. I'll let you know.
Thanks.
I see somebody else's picture. I'm sorry. Who was that?
Yeah, it's Wayne.
Oh, Wayne.
I've been asked by all of the groups representing Cache Valley, the mayors and all, that we consider moving the priority up for the Logan Main Street project. As most of you know, Logan Main Street is one of the most congested thoroughfares in the state. And if you're there at rush hour, it's almost bumper to bumper between the traffic signals. The STIP goes out to year 2030, but if we don't get some action there before then, it's going to be total gridlock. For a while, I don't think everybody in this region was on the same page, but there was a letter addressed to Chairman Zenati, signed by the CMPO, the mayors, everybody, requesting that we consider that. So if it's at all possible, I'd like to see that moved up.
Thanks, Wayne. That's absolutely part of what we want to have a discussion about. I anticipate somebody from the either the county or the city or the MPO. I've talked to them a few times. They want to. I suggested they make comment during our commission meeting on Friday, and also that's exactly the type of conversation we want to have around the information that we're presenting. So, thank you.
I think they are planning to do that.
Yeah, I think it's scheduled already, Carlos, for tomorrow.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, Wayne.
Okay.
You know, Nagi, I failed to introduce, I'll say, the most important federal person on this call, Ivan Marrero. Ivan, you want to turn your camera on and just give...
Well, I certainly was not prepared to go on screen.
Oh, come on.
I will anyway. Thank you, Carlos, and good morning, Commissioner Menlo. Congratulations on your assignment. I'm Ivan Marrero. I have the honor of leading the Federal Highway Office here in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and the privilege of working with what I consider to be the best state transportation department in the nation. So you will learn in your time as commissioner exactly how the kind of excellent work that this group does, and you will just be amazed. So I look forward to working with you over the next over the length of your assignment. And the commission is nice enough to give me a couple of minutes during their meeting to just bring you up to speed on what's going on the federal side. So I look forward to those times, and congratulations again. And I want to say to Commissioner Barlow, thank you for your service. It's been amazing working with you, and the people of Utah should be very proud of what you've done for them during your time. Congratulations. And I do miss those bus tours and sitting next to you guys and just talking about it and getting to know more about you. So looking forward to those days again. Thank you again. Thanks again.
Thanks, Ivan. Nagi, are there any other questions from anyone?
Rhonda, do you have any questions from any one of us? I know it's kind of overwhelming for the first day, but I know you're taking notes. I hope that you will remember what you're writing like I do.
I'm hoping I can read it, but no, this has been great. These have been wonderful.
You can call a friend, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you can stop us anytime. Call us as a great opportunity to give every one of us, no matter what time, what day. You can call Lifeline, or you can call in the presentation, say stop, explain, and then we'll go forward.
Exactly.
Thank you. Go ahead,
Thank you, Nagi. Well, I think we should jump into it. We have a goal here to get done before noon, and so I'd like to turn the time over to Ben. And Ben, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Get my screen shared. All right. So as we've done before, we're going to start with a brief process overview as we continue the series of programming workshops that Carlos mentioned. The first thing I wanted to do before we jump into the typical process overview information is just navigate and show some information on the UDOT strategic direction. So I'm just on the UDOT website and I'm going to click on the strategic direction link. And then I'm going to scroll down to the funding information. So I just wanted to point this out that this is recently updated. Nathan Lee's group updated this information with the fiscal year 2022 funding information. And it reflects the information that Becky Bradshaw went through last month. So for example, if you were to click on the transportation fund, you can see the revenue information that Becky Bradshaw went through. And then if you click on the expenditures, you can also see how that is split up and broken out. We went over the highway systems construction line item down here that ties into our programs, some of our funding programs that we reviewed last month. So I just briefly wanted to show that and show everybody that that's been updated with the current information. So now I'm going to jump back over to the UDOT website, click on the Transportation Commission link, and scroll down to the process tab. We've seen this before, but it's always good to orient. Really briefly, the excerpt from the Utah Code that talks about the duties of the commission. The main point here is the commission determines priorities and funding levels of projects. And then this is all done through public meetings and providing for public input. We've also got a few excerpts in here from the commission programming policy. And the basic takeaway from this is with multiple different funding types, UDOT develops the recommendations and presents them to the commission. And then as it moves forward, all those programming items are then compiled into a draft STIP and submitted for a formal 30-day public comment period, and then sent to the Federal Transit Administration and the Federal Highways Administration for final approval. So that is best shown through our calendar. So this is a graphical representation of how that all works and how it progresses forward through our year. So last month, we went over the program summaries. In March, we also identified the project lists, especially the ones that came out of the legislative session, and then for our Transportation Investment Fund, or TIF, the prioritized projects that we're going to be talking about in more detail today. We identified those by name last month and provided those lists. This month, we're going to go through the project-specific recommendations with respect to cost and estimated construction start. And then tomorrow, we'll be asking for approval of the program values that we reviewed last month that correspond with some of the project information that we're going over this month. As we move forward into May, then we would request approval of the project-specific funding levels. And then in June, back to what was mentioned in that commission policy, that's when the programming items are compiled and there's a request to submit for the public comment period that you can see in July. And then you can see forward from July, it's that process of getting it to FTA and FHWA for approval in October. So are there any questions on the process and the timing as we walk through this programming? Okay. So I am going to jump into the next item, then we're gonna go into some of the project specific information. So I'm gonna real quick unshare my screen and reshare a different type of document so we can walk through that. So give me a second here. This is when you hope that it works like you thought it would. Okay, looks like that's showing up. So the first item we're going to go through is the Transportation Investment Fund, or TIF, legislated projects that we talked about last month by name. So the first two items, the TIF legislated projects and the TIF highway projects, I just want to introduce that by talking a little bit about what the process was to develop these recommendations. So this is the list of these legislated projects that Terry showed in her presentation last time. So to develop the project specific recommendations, Terry and Lisa got a group of region and UDOT Central people together on a brisk morning to develop project timing and fine tune the cost estimates on this list of projects. And when I say fine tune the cost estimates, what I mean there is it's a little bit of an iterative process because of having to place these projects in years and then taking into account any inflation effects, which then affects the cost, and then you have to match that up with the available funding for that year. So it's a little bit of an iterative process, but that's what the group of region and UDOT Central people were discussing. Some of the things that helped determine those recommendations with each one of those projects were obviously the available funding in the different years that we're talking about. As Terry mentioned last time, we're for the full TIF program, we're recommending programming into 2030. So there's the cash flow, the available funding by year that helps determine where projects could potentially fit. There's other things like the timing of adjacent projects and project interaction with projects that are already going or plan to be going, taking into account things like contractor and consultant workload timing. And then we talked about some project specific issues like environmental document complexity and estimated duration of those environmental documents, things like railroad coordination and permitting on a specific project, utility coordination and relocation plan, and then right-of-way needs and timing. So just to give a flavor of some of the different things that were talked about and how to come up with these recommendations. So this is the list that on the screen, this is the list of the legislated projects that Terry showed last month. This is that same list in that same order with the project values now added and the estimated construction start date that was determined through that process that I just described. And then I'm going to scroll down one slide. For today, and for ease of presenting this material, we've grouped these projects, so reordered them, grouped them by region, and then sorted by estimated construction start date within a region. And since we always typically start with region 1 and go 1, 2, 3, 4, we thought let's switch it up this time and start with region 4 and go 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's why it's showing region 4 at the top. So I just went through quite a bit of information. So before we start diving through each one of these projects, is there any questions or anything that I can speak to about that process that we went through to get to here?
Ben, if it's possible, just make your screen a little bit larger for some of us that have just the laptop with the smaller screen.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to make this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this larger. I do have another version of this that I can show at a later time, and hopefully when we jump through each project, it'll zoom in. So
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, well, so we're going to start working down through this list, and I'm going to have, or the regions are going to go through their respective projects on this list in a little bit more detail through the use of some summary sheets. So if there are no questions, I'm going to turn to Region 4 to start with the first project and have them discuss what they want to discuss about each project, and then just let me know, regions, when you want me to move down to the next item.
Okay. Thanks, Ben. And this is Rick Torgerson, Region Director, so it's kind of weird to go first, but it's going to be fun. We'll start here with a couple of projects in the St. George area, Washington County area, that have been on our radar screen for many years. We completed an environmental study from milepost 0 to 16 back in 2012, I think. And that kind of laid out our plan for the next 30 years in the Washington County area along I-15. And we've completed quite a few of the phase 1 projects. We've grouped them into phase 1, 2, and 3 by a 10-year period that kind of rolls into our long-range plan. So these projects are certainly the next ones on the list. And exit 10 to 13 is this project that we got shown on the screen right here with a new interchange at milepost 11. We partnered with the Washington City over the last several years, and they actually paid for the environmental document to be completed to analyze the exit 11 interchange. So this would add a new interchange on I-15 and then widen in both directions from milepost 10 interchange all the way up to the exit 13 interchange. For $56 million, we plan to start this as soon as we get approval and be looking to start construction, probably next summer. Any questions on that project? Ben, if you want to move to the next one. Tokerville Parkway. This is a project that the commission took action on last March with the city of Tokerville on a jurisdictional transfer agreement, that if that city and the developer that is proposed to develop most of this road on the west side of Tokerville would build 2 lanes, 1 lane each direction, the VDOT would jurisdictional transfer the old highway of Tokerville over and would take ownership of this new parkway. So this legislative funding at $18 million is proposed, still the same alignment, and would be proposed to build the 4-lane road. So the city and the developer would build the 2-lane roads, and then UDOT would work with the city to complete the parkway with the other 2 lanes for this $18 million. So this project would actually build the entire parkway design now, and then we would still execute the jurisdictional transfer once this road is built with Tokerville. So this would become the new state highway, and Tokerville would become the owners of the historic route through town. And we're proposed to get started as soon as possible on this one as well. Any questions on this one? Okay, if anybody has any questions, just stop me if you would, that'd be fine. So Ben, go to the next one. SR 132 westbound and eastbound passing lanes. So this is the connection between Sanpete County and Nephi. So you see on the screen here the town of Fountain Green. So this is the last town before you go through Nephi Canyon and actually come into Nephi, which is Region 3. So we completed a corridor study several years ago. Region 3 and Region 4 partnered on a corridor study and identified multiple improvements to the canyon section. This is the 2 projects that came out of the top of the priority there. So it's a westbound and eastbound passing lane. So the blue line there shows a big color there, but those will be broken into a passing lane, 1 eastbound and 1 westbound between those 2 mileposts of 41 and 45. $6.2 million, and again, we'd start the design on this as soon as we have approval, with construction next year. Oh no, wait, we got to, okay, does this one, I thought we had this one, we need to adjust this one. I think we're doing this one right off the bat as well. I may have the wrong construction schedule, and I think we got
Oh,
the wrong fact sheet.
You're right. That should be 2021 and 2022 February. So it needs to be moved
so we
a year.
We'll update that fact sheet, but it's this year with construction next summer. Okay, Ben. East Zions roundabout and improvements on SR9. So you have had a presentation, that was probably 2 years ago, from the East Zions group, Brent Chamberlain with Kane County, and a couple of developers on the east side of Zion. So this is in concert with the plan that Kane County has right now, is to construct a new visitor center on the east side of Zions at the North Fork intersection. And several developers are looking at a new Grand Lodge and a lot of improvements on the east side to basically create a whole bunch of biking and walking paths and a whole new experience on the east side of Zions. They have received, Kane County has received their CIB money. Now they're working on with the developer for the Grand Lodge, because that's kind of the key to actually paying back their loan for the CIB money, and we're waiting with Kane County to see how that agreement with the developer happens for the Grand Lodge. But once this happens, we will look to complete a roundabout at the new North Fork Road intersection, which is where the visitor center will be. Several other intersection improvements along the corridor, a pedestrian underpass, multi-use path, and some wildlife mitigation as the funding will allow. But we have a little over $10 million, and we're just gauging the entire partnership with Kane County, and we'll start working on this project as soon as Kane County will start the visitor center. Their current plans are to have the visitor center under construction at the end of this year, early next year. And the Grand Lodge going at about the same time, with about a year-long construction on both of those, maybe a little bit longer on the Grand Lodge. So really in the next 2 years, you could see a whole new experience for Zions on the east side. They are also working on a shuttle system. That is, we don't have this product right here to address the system, but they do have a system that is proposed to eventually start a CNAB and deliver tourists and residents to the East Zions Visitor Center, as well as go through the tunnel and tie into Main Canyon on Zions. So it's at a size that it can go through the tunnel, and it's electric bus fleet, and they're currently working on that plan right now. So this is a very unique project for us. It's really a strong partnership with developers and with Kane County to create a whole new experience.
Rick, as of yesterday, the East Zion shuttle is going to connect to Springdale even. It's going to come all the way to town of Springdale to pick up the passengers from there.
Yep. So they will have one. They will have one right now. They have one purchased, and it's on its way, I guess, or it's in the works to actually do a trial run through the tunnel and all the way down to Main Canyon, and I guess to the actual Springdale area too. So this could be a really nice transit opportunity for that entire area.
Rhonda, for your information, CIB that Rick is referring to is a Community Impact Board, and they funded that project $15.5 million 3 months ago in the form of loan with interest. So that will help them to do the joint venture with the UDOT. Thank you, Rick.
Yep, to build the visitor center. Okay, Ben, next one. The next one is the other I-15 project. This is actually right in St. George from exit 6 to exit 8. So this is the other section that we only have 2 lanes each direction right now. This would add a 3rd lane, both northbound and southbound from exit 6 to exit 8. And then there's a proposed exit 7 interchange. And why I say it's proposed is we have not completed the environmental document on that new interchange that St. George City has requested. So we do need to go through an environmental process and access justification report with Federal Highways to actually put in the exit 7 interchange. So we still do not have approval on that. So that one will take a little bit longer to do the environmental document. So The exit 10 to 13 will go first, and then this one will follow, depending on what happens with the environmental document on the exit 7 interchange. It's proposed at $68.7 million, and we've got probably a year and a half of environmental and design work, and then construction right now is proposed, in that April 2023, August 2024 timeframe. So once these two projects are complete, we will have 4 lanes or a 3-lane system both directions from milepost 4 all the way to milepost 16, which is the SR9 interchange that goes over to Hurricane. Great improvements here. Okay, Ben. The last one, I think this might be the last one. The last is I15 northbound. So we just completed a project from the top of the Black Ridge, which is milepost 38, to milepost 43, which is near the Canaryville rest area, this last summer. Well, we're actually still working on a little bit of it right now. But this project would continue that 3-lane northbound section from the Canaryville rest area all the way to the South Cedar interchange. So 43 to 56. So 13-mile long new 3rd-lane section on I-15. This, as all of you as well know, the freight movement on I-15 just continues to grow coming out of the ports of LA. And this would continue that. There is still an uphill grade, all the way to Cedar City. Once Cedar City starts to level off a little bit, but still the amount of freight traffic that we have on I-15 is impressive and continues to grow. So this would add that 3rd-lane section to really deal with that speed differential between all the semi trucks and the travelers that are moving along that roadway. So $50 million, this one's out there a couple of years, so we wouldn't start this one until June of 2023, so 2 years from the summer for the design work, and then we'd actually start the construction in April of 2024 and go to May of 2025. Any questions on that one? Okay, Ben, go to the next one. And
I think we jumped to Region 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Rick, and good morning, Commissioner. I'm Rob Clayton. I'm the Region Director in Region 3, and I've got 6 projects to talk about this morning that came from the legislative session this year. The first one is the Vineyard Connector. And this is the Vineyard Connector is a planned corridor that will ultimately extend from 800 North in Orem up to Rainier Crossing in Lehigh. The very first portion of it exists, extending from Geneva Road out to Main Street in Vineyard. You can see on the map there the gray portion extending 800 North to the west. This project would continue the Vineyard Connector from where it currently ends at Main Street to 1600 North. And it would build 1 lane in each direction with planned intersections according to the agreement with Vineyard City as they develop their downtown, the town center, which is the area that's in kind of that orange color. And it's adjacent to the UVU development that's going to happen on the other side of the tracks. The blue that you see on that in between the orange and the green, that's a front runner station that is about to begin construction. And all of this development and construction is going to occur over the next year to 18 months. So this project is $16.5 million. We're hoping to be under construction in spring, but summer by latest of 2022. Next slide. This is the Springville 16 South, 2700 North, Spanish Fork interchange. This is using an existing overpass on that 16 South corridor that currently doesn't have access to I-15. And this project will add ramps to that overpass and build a diamond interchange. Now, that project to build those ramps and some improvements around that, the interchange already existed what the legislature did with this project is add the funding to widen 16th South from the railroad overpass that we're going to construct all the way over to State Route 51, which is on the right side of that map. So with this funding, it brings the total funding for the project up to $79 million. And at the end of the project, you'll have widened 16th South. There'll be a structure grade separating the railroad from 16th South. We'll have ramps that connect I-15 to 1600 South. The frontage roads, it's kind of a typical rural situation where the frontage roads are a little too close to the interchange. So they need to be separated away so that it operates efficiently. That work will be done. And this is all currently being designed right now with construction in 2022. That's a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions about that project?
Rhonda, ask question. Don't be shy. Questions today and tomorrow is free. Otherwise, it's going to cost you one question for each shake, raspberry shake.
Okay, thank you, Nagi. I'm just really learning. This is a great
Okay.
opportunity to listen and learn. Thank
So
you.
please don't be shy. Ask, please.
Do we have agreements from the railroad yet? Are they completed?
No, the work with the railroad, we've initiated that. We don't have them in hand yet. But they're aware, and with this project will eliminate, I think, 6 crossings with the work that we need from the railroad, and so they're pretty motivated to eliminate those crossings, and we're not expecting to have too much difficulty.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next slide, Ben. Oh, one more. Okay. You're probably all aware of the announcement of the Orem LDS Temple. This is the site where that will be located off of Geneva Road, south of the University Parkway interchange. The legislature provided funding to widen Geneva Road from University Parkway to the south to 1800 South. This project will widen Geneva Road. This is a pretty narrow section of this road. This will widen it out to 2 lanes in each direction with a center turn lane. It'll add a multi-use path along the east side of the road with an 8-foot park strip. And there's quite a bit of design and right-of-way work that has to happen here. And so we're estimating that this project will be under construction in summer of 2023 at a cost of $20 million. Next slide.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
This is Jim Nagi, if I asked a question. So
yes,
since that project is under construction there at the LDS Church and will be done by then, which may add a little traffic, I presume, I know the developer had to do some initial ingress, egress type lanes to get off of Geneva Road to there. Will any of that probably still happen temporarily because that traffic will start to pick up then, which would be a year and a half or 2 before this project looks like will be done? Are there some temporary things that are done to assist with that, or what usually happens in a case like that where a project is being done, but there's construction and traffic coming before the project's done? Are there any temporary things that happen in a case like that?
Yeah. So Jim, what I expect to happen, we'll get this in design as quickly as we can to kind of define what's going to happen on the east side of the road there, and that way we can coordinate with the construction that's happening at the temple and make sure that we have those improvements in place, either temporary or permanent, according to the timing, because you're right, there's a little bit of a timing issue of us getting this all in place, and I think the temple is probably going to open before we're able to get these improvements in place. But we can make sure, coordinating with them, that we get things, the curbs put in the right places and the turn lanes in that are necessary, so that we minimize any kind of waste and get those put in the right place.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, next slide. This is 1600 North in Orem. This project will widen this road from its current 3-lane configuration to 5 lanes. It will add active transportation paths in the corridor, and it also will reconstruct the pavement that's in need of replacement. There's $4 million of TIF funds that exist in this project. The legislation this year added 35 for a total of $39 million. The environmental study necessary for this, we anticipate will take about 2 years, and it's currently we're in procurement for that to get the consultant on board to conduct that study, and then this will be under construction in we anticipate in summer of 2023. Any questions on that one?
Just one about, I know that Mountain Land has been, Associated Governments has been working with some of the homeowners and, you know, bought a few homes along there, kind of tied some things up, but I know the environmental study still is taking place. And so I just wondering how that balances, you know, obviously there's large high voltage power lines along the north of that road, but you still have to determine exactly the layout of where that happens. I guess all that kind of works together if they're in the process of doing that. The environmental study is still taking place. Is that correct?
That's right, Commissioner Evans. The way the corridor preservation worked prior to the project, and the project will exist if you approve it, but up until then you can use corridor preservation. But because you don't know where the alignment will be, they consider purchases on both sides of the road. Once the project exists and you're not using corridor preservation funds, we'll probably halt the acquisition of properties until we get clarity through the environmental process, and then we'll begin that right-of-way acquisition formally. So.
Okay, thank you.
And this is, we actually have an item making its way through. It won't be this month, but I'm hoping next month we'll actually have at least one corridor preservation item along this corridor.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe if I can just add, as long as we're, Rob mentioned, as long as we're purchasing fairly and not trying to, not affecting the outcome of the document. If somebody wants to be purchased, we can take it into consideration ahead of time, as long as we're fair about it and don't prejudice our alignment based on that.
Okay, thanks, Terry.
Okay, next, Ben. This is on US 6. It's between mileposts 195 and 197. It's in Spanish Fork Canyon. If you're familiar with the area, it's Sheep Creek to Mill Fork. There are existing passing lanes on both sides of this section in both eastbound and westbound directions. There's a gap here that operationally is a little challenging and for folks that are driving through this area. This project will connect those passing lanes, and they'll make them about 7 miles in each direction, which will really be a nice safety enhancement and operational improvement. It's especially significant because the traffic in this area is 40% or more semis, and so you know, you get loaded semis that aren't going as fast as people think they should, and then people start to make questionable decisions in passing, and that's where the safety issues come. So this will be a nice opportunity to provide travelers with a way to get around those slower moving vehicles. We estimate this one at $35.4 million, and this one will be a spring 2024 construction. Any questions? Okay, next slide. The last one in Region 3 from the legislature is a study. This is the environmental study for the extension of Mountain View Corridor south from SR 73. So they're referring to this locally as Foothill Boulevard. This is an effort that is currently, this is a high priority for Saratoga Springs. It's definitely an issue for us. There's only one north-south corridor through that area. It's SR 68, Redwood Road. This would provide an alternative route for that community. Saratoga Springs is actively planning for this and taking their own steps to shape the development that occurs, working with property owners and developers to facilitate this. This study will formally study the environmental impacts of this road and determine what an appropriate alignment would be. So this is $3 million, and there's not a hurry to start this, but we're going to move expeditiously. We expect to be underway in fall of 2021. And that's the last one in Region 3, Ben.
Thank you, Rob.
So we'll try not to act like middle children here in Region 2 with the numerical ordering. Bangerter Highway, just globally, I think some may argue, but it's been a great example of a phased approach to transportation. It was designed limited access highway with signalized intersections along it. We've been working diligently since that day to study the effects of the road, and Bangerter Highway in general has lasted and done its job, but it's become a major impediment to east-west traffic, as well as the intersections being sort of an inhibitor towards north-south traffic. So Bangerter Highway, this is one of those intersections that will be made into an interchange, similar to a lot of the other intersections throughout Bangerter Highway. And this is really just a precursor to a bunch of other projects that we have coming up in the non-earmarked section of the presentation. You guys have seen these things before. Same story, different interchange. The timing on these is we have an environmental document study that's going on right now for the rest of the intersections that remain on Bangerter Highway. So that's 134th, 27th West, 98th, 47th, and all of the interchanges from 41st south on northward. We anticipate that environmental document to go quickly for this particular intersection, with construction to begin somewhere in the spring of 2023. I remember back in the day when we first did 78 South, and one of our senior leaders said to the current region director, or to the region director at the time, get ready to do a lot more of these because these are impactful projects for the region. So that's Bangerter. Any questions next?
Robert, would you please explain that 300,000 annual delay hour savings? What model did you use to come up with that number?
I'd love to answer that, except for I don't know. Brad, do you happen to know how we got to those savings?
Yeah, so when we do the traffic modeling to compare the existing intersection to the final product of a grade separated interchange, we compare the delay on a yearly or annual basis that occurs with the traffic every day. So for instance, if we add up all the drivers that are at that intersection being delayed for 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, and then we put the interchange model into that traffic analysis, we find over a year's span, we save about 300,000 hours of delay savings, is how that works.
Okay.
So it's pretty significant.
Of course, not to mention the idling and the carbon monoxide and all the other challenges, right? Savings.
Exactly, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question. Thank you, Brad. Any other questions on this? Okay, the U111 project. My wife actually grew up in this area of the valley, and at the time, 25 years ago, I thought it was a sign of my undying love for her that I would visit her out in the middle of nowhere. That is not the case anymore out here. For anybody that's familiar with this part of the valley, it is growing up exponentially. This project is kind of planted right next to the Olympia Hills proposed development. It's in unincorporated Salt Lake County. So SR 111 ends as a state facility at New Bingham Highway. And from New Bingham Highway all the way around, it becomes back as highway, and it sort of serves the Rio Tinto organization as well as Butterfield Canyon. This project is to construct a portion of roadway deemed to be SR 111 from 118th South to Harriman Parkway, which is yet to be constructed, the Harriman Parkway. What this project, I think, does a great job of is facilitates the discussion between us and the local communities on what the future is of SR 111. And this serves as sort of a launching point to enter those discussions of what we're doing with 111. But this project specifically connects 118th South to Harriman Parkway, which is proposed to be built by the Olympia Hills development. Any questions on this? My wife said yes, so I guess that strategy worked. Sucker. All right, next one's Kimball Junction environmental study. We've done a number of studies in this area, specifically at the Kimball Junction area. This is the next step in that overall process, which is to begin the environmental process, where we'll identify the preferred alternatives in this area. As you guys probably know, Summit County, just like Salt Lake County, is growing, and this area serves the ski resorts as well as the Park City community. And so this is sort of that launching point to begin understanding what the preferred alternative will be in the area. Any questions? Ben, I'm not lobbying to go first next time. I was merely kidding.
This is Rob White, Region 1 Director, and this is our only project, but as you can see by the funding, it's a pretty significant project. This project is 5600 South, and just to orient you to where this is, it's the road into the north gate at Hill Air Force Base. If you haven't been in that area for a while, there's a lot of development going up on the north side of Hill Air Force Base. Northrop Grumman has set up shop there, and there's been a lot of office space put in over the last few years, with a projection to have quite a bit more go in there. So this is a growing area north of the base, and then there's been some issues with the gate at Hill Air Force Base. Not part of this project, but MIDA has been given some money by the legislature to move that gate further south, which should alleviate some of the backing problems that we've had pre-COVID with inload of the Hill Air Force Base every morning. And so along with this project, that's going to be help traffic congestion in this particular interchange. The project involves a complete interchange reconstruct, as well as the reconstruction of and widening of 5600 West. We completed an environmental document on this project last December, and this was the alternative that was chosen. And there's still a fair amount of work to do prior to going to construction on this one. A lot of it has to do with getting the easements from the Air Force Base for the new configuration of the 5600 South. So that's we're going to start right away on our design and right away and deliver this in go to construction in 2023. So this is a fairly significant project. As you can see, 238 million total, 162 for the interchange. The reason that that's a little more expensive than your standard interchange is we have several structures that we're needing to take care of besides the bridge on I-15. There's a flyover that goes, as you can see, that red dashed line going north. We're going to grade separate that to help improve operation of that particular intersection, as well as there's a railroad right-of-way coming into the base that there's structures that go under or there's structures that go over the railroad that support I-15 there. So that's one of the reasons that's so expensive. Are there any questions on this project? All right, I think that's the last one for the legislative money.
Hey, Ben, but before you go on, I'm wondering if I could get you to be really nimble and go back up to the beginning where the list has the total on it, where we see the whole list. I just want to make sure everybody's clear what the role is of the commission on these projects. We presented a lot of them to you, and as we keep using the language of saying these are legislated projects, so they were stated in HB 433, but they didn't have project values on them. Our job will be at UDOT to manage this list of projects to a total of 705 million. You can see on this list what they total up to is 704,950,000. So it doesn't leave a lot of room for things to change on these projects, but the commission will be responsible for setting the funding levels on each of these projects. So you can't change what's on this list, but what you are approving is the total amount for each project. So if we have a project that comes in under what we expect, which we hope there will be a few that do that, because we will also have some that maybe come in a little over, we have some latitude. You have latitude to adjust those project values, but we have to total up to 705 million to stay within the legislation. So there will be a little bit of a tricky balance with this list, and these projects get managed a little bit differently in terms of Lisa and I will have to make sure if somebody has something that starts to go over, we may have to adjust the scope on it and back off a bit to stay under that 705 million total. So just wanted to clarify for you and remind you that's how this list works, which is a little bit different from the next list we're going to talk about.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, please, Donna.
Just a question, and Ben might have addressed this when we started the review of this remarkable commitment on the behalf of the legislature for this $705 million. As things have come out of the STIP and now have funding to them, how does this affect the remnant of the list? For instance, how might this impact the project that Wayne brought up earlier about Logan Main Street?
Okay.
So I would say that this is all new cash. This will be new cash coming into TIF exclusive for these projects. These projects were not the highest ranked on the prioritized list, so they fell in past Logan Main Street. And I think maybe we can talk about that one a little bit more when we get into that next list. But this shouldn't affect the ranked list. These are things that were kind of below the rest of the projects.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Terry.
Okay, thank you. A couple bullet points that I need to talk through. First one is I'm going to ask, well, first of all, thank you, Terry, for, we have these lists, this one, and then the next one that we're going to talk about. They're posted on the Transportation Commission website now with clickable links, as you can see here, to each one of the one-pagers or the summary sheets that the regions have went through. And I will ask Ivan to remind me that when I hand off the control, when we go to the transportation solutions item, before we jump over there, let's jump to the commission website and just show that that those where those lists are and the links. So that's the first item. The second item is on our agenda with respect to these legislated projects. We had a placeholder to discuss any public comments since the time of the initial list last month with just the project names and now. I am not aware of any public comments on this specific list at this point in time. Is anybody else aware of any public comment that we need to discuss on the legislated projects? Sounds like nobody else is aware of any public comments that have come in at this point on these. And like Terry mentioned, these were identified, the projects were identified, but we have developed the recommended project values for each one of those projects.
Ben, we have legislators have already allocated the money, but they have not certainly mentioned any kind of deadline or timeline for the completion of this project, have they? It's not mandatory.
No, that was part of, yeah, that was part of what that group that I discussed, we came up with. I mean, obviously with it being general fund cash,
right.
I think our idea was to try to do those as soon as we could, given the considerations that we talked about with environmental document complexity and duration and coordination with other projects, permitting and those types of things.
Okay.
Is that,
yes.
I think that's accurate. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to not make everybody dizzy as I scroll down to where we were quick. So now we're going to transition into the quote unquote regular process for TIF highway projects. So this is related to a topic that we've talked about a little bit called project prioritization over the past year. So in January, I believe we went through some information on how we use the prioritization process and developed recommendations on these projects. This right here is the list of projects that Terry showed last month with respect to the prioritization process. This slide is that same exact list in that same exact order with the project values and the estimated construction start dates at this point. And then just very similar to what we did last time, we then, for this presentation, we grouped those by region and then sorted within the region by estimated construction start date, so we can walk through them in an orderly manner.
Another question, Ben, from the public. Did UDOT have any input on this list?
Did UDOT have any input on this list as far as public comment or?
No, as in if the legislator make a decision on these projects list, do we have any input from the UDOT saying that yes, we should be, should not be, or any kind of comments?
Yeah, this list is based on the prioritization, the project prioritization list that we worked through. So it's kind of the output. We took the output of the prioritization process, and then we went through there was some of those other considerations that we took into account that we talked about in January and this is the UDOT recommendation based on the prioritization process.
And maybe if I can just add to that, it really starts with the long range plan. I mean, this is that big picture look again, starts with the long range plan, starts with our coordination with our MPO partners, metropolitan planning organizations, and the communities. And then we have that comprehensive list. We break that down into the 3 phases. And then we, with the prioritization process developed with our help, developed by the commission. And that's the process we've gone through the last couple of years. And I think nearly every meeting the last couple of years, we have talked about the prioritization process so that we could fine tune that process. So this is the culmination really of that process for capacity projects for highways. Now we've taken projects off of using that prioritization model. We have ranked projects for TTIF, active projects, first mile, last mile, and for transit. And then we have also ranked projects for active transportation for TIF and have programmed projects off of that. But this will be the first time we have programmed highway projects from TIF using the prioritization process. So this is kind of the culmination of what we've been doing the last couple of years. And it was with the, maybe it's too soft to say, the encouragement of the legislature. They asked us to look further out than we normally would to program. And so this is why you see us reaching out to 2030 to try to program a little bit longer list of projects. So this is really a culmination of a couple years, well, I'll say years and years worth of work trying to get the right suggested projects, but really with capacity prioritization the last couple of years, this is the culmination of our work with the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. So once again, we'll stop us at any time, but we'll start going through, starting with Region 4 project.
Okay, thanks, Ben. We have 2 projects on this TIF list. The first one on I15. So this is our first southbound lanes that we will have constructed, between Cedar and St. George. And this is from milepost 38. So the top of the Black Ridge is at milepost 38, and this would be back towards the Geneva rest area. So this would be widen the southbound lanes and replace 2 of the inline structures on I15 from milepost 38 to 43. So this is really to get 3 lanes there before and allow all that passing and movement, clean up the traffic before they start going down through the Black Ridge area, the canyon. So this one's proposed to start design in June of 2024, and then construction in the summer of 2025. So it's out there a few years. So the next one, Ben, is the passing lanes and extend a passing lane on SR9. So this is out of Laverican towards Springdale. So this is there's still 2 more projects on our corridor study to be built. This is the second to the last one. The other one is the Laverican twist coming up out of Laverican as you climb that grade. But this is extend a passing lane right at the very top of the grade, and then do some passing lanes near the town of Virgin. So this is $6 million and proposed start design in the summer of 2026, and then construction in 2027. So these timeframes, obviously, I think Terry may have mentioned it, were all relative to overall cash flow in the entire TIF program, of how all these projects can kind of fit into that entire program out to 2030. So that's our 2 projects in Region 4.
Okay. Back to Region 3, I've got 3 projects to discuss. The first one is a large project. This is the gap that currently exists on the Mountain View corridor between Porter Rockwell in Region 2 and 2100 North, pictured there on the map. This will get you over that point of the mountain area, and will connect infrastructure that we've already invested in with the Mountain View corridor to the north, Salt Lake County up to State Route SR 201 and I-80, with the 2100 North corridor that was previously constructed, and the State Route 85 that's depicted there on the map. That road that connects SR 73 to SR 68 was just opened recently, a year or so ago, and there's a lot of traffic and congestion in this area. Growth is just explosive. As soon as we fill this gap, we'll see a relief on State Route 68 and on I-15. And we'll be able to get full benefit out of the investments that we've made in other areas. So this will build a freeway section from 2100 North up to Porter Rockwell Boulevard. There's not need for frontage roads through here because of limited development. We're estimated at $350 million and somewhat controlled by cash flow, but also because of some right-of-way and issues that related to the military complex there. We're projecting that we'll be under construction here in fall of 2023. Are there any questions about that? Forgot to mention we'll have active transportation paths on that project as well. And we'll connect to the existing paths north and south of the project. Okay, next, Ben. This State Street project is between Pleasant Grove 200 South and American Fork 500 West. If you're familiar with this area, this is a bottleneck. Currently, the State Street is widened to the south, going off of the map, and then, you know, anytime there's anything that happens on I-15, traffic will shift to State Street, and this area immediately becomes overloaded. This will alleviate that bottleneck and provide a really functional alternate route to I-15, and will alleviate daily congestion that occurs in this area. We're going to widen out to 7 lanes to match the existing corridor to the south. We're going to add buffered bike lanes to implement local and state active transportation plans. And this project has existed for some time. It's had funding challenges for a number of years. The right-of-way in this area has just exploded in cost. Most of this money that we're adding to this project is to cover those additional right-of-way costs. So this will add $18.191 million for a total of $43.371, and will be under construction in fall of 2023. Are there questions about this project?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thanks, Nagi. I have a question. So in this project, would there potentially be 2 left turn lanes at the end there going onto 50 East towards the freeway by increasing capacity? I'm just curious on something like that.
2 left turn lanes.
I'm just wondering, you know, you'll get all that extra traffic moving, which you'll be great at, because I've driven this many times and I know the bottleneck you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that could be certainly a bottleneck when you get all that traffic flowing to get back over to the freeway. So I'm just curious if the design looks at something potentially like that, where you're moving up there at the top part of your chart, where you go left to go back onto 50 East to get back to I-15. Just if they consider looking at something like that.
Yeah, I think we are looking at those capacity and improvements at each one of these intersections to maximize the benefit. You know, we're also looking at you know, how to get more people through the North County Boulevard intersection with Pleasant Grove Boulevard, which is also connected to this corridor. So, you know, as traffic continues to grow, we've got to look for ways to efficiently move people through this area and through these intersections. It's becoming more and more challenging.
Yeah, especially with all the growth of all the businesses the office buildings that are being built down there in Pleasant Grove area now. That area is just going to continue to dump more and more traffic in that area. So thank you.
That's right. Okay, next slide, Ben. Okay, this is the last proposed TIF project in Region 3. This is US 40. This is in Heber City, going away from the intersection with US 189. There at the hub intersection, if you're a local. This area is also experiencing incredible growth. And this project would widen from the existing 3-lane configuration, 2 or 3 lanes, depending on where you are, to 5 lanes. And we'll also implement state and local active transportation plans. So this is this is estimated at 24.2 million. And this is a project that was also controlled by cash flow. So this is estimated to be under construction in summer of 2028. Are there any questions about any of the Region 3 projects?
The question I have on this Center Creek is the right-of-way pretty well secured?
I don't believe so. I think that's going to be an issue that we have to work with the city on as they develop to implement this vision.
Because it looks like there's a lot of new construction occurring right along there. Thank you.
Did you have something you wanted to add, Matt?
No, I was just saying that that's one of the things that we're going to have to do is keep coordinating with the local jurisdictions and make sure that we're getting the proper setbacks as they develop.
Okay, hand it off to my friend Robert Stewart.
Great, thank you. So, like I mentioned before, Bangerter Highway, phased approach to the solutions in the area. This is again more continuation of the same. This is 98th intersections and the 47th South intersections. We're looking to grade separate these intersections to facilitate the flow of north-south traffic and east-west traffic throughout the area. This one, depending on how the approval process goes, this may be combined with the 134 South project to get some of the efficiencies gained with combining them. But this is sort of more of the same of Bangerter Highway. This I will add will complete the grade separation of Bangerter Highway south of 4100 South, with the exception of 2700 West intersection. So major improvements here. And next. So this is a project that's actually the combination of three projects in the Tooele County area. The first is to construct an auxiliary lane from the SR 36 interchange eastbound to SR 201. Right now, people get on, they got to merge in with traffic, and then they can get off on the interchange or on the interchange of 201. This would create an auxiliary lane so that it eliminates that weave potential. Along with that, there's an extension of a widening along SR 36 back to Stansbury Parkway. So from Stansbury Parkway, SR 36, it's to construct an additional lane. And again, that sort of facilitates getting onto I-80 with the expectation of being able to get off at SR 201. The third project associated with this is I'm sorry, whenever I get in this area, I mix up southbound, northbound. A northbound lane is what I was talking about on SR 36. But the third project is to continue the southbound lane where it currently bottlenecks at Stansbury Parkway to Sunset Lane. So from Sunset Lane to Stansbury Parkway, it's to construct a third lane in that area. I don't know if there's a magnetic issue when I go over the mountain, but I get my north and south mixed up when I go that way. Did I confuse everybody thoroughly? Did that make sense? All right, next one. So the project that we're just finishing up right now on northbound I-15 goes from 90th South to I-215. The environmental study in this area also had phase 2 of this project to be this I-15 northbound project. So this goes from Bangerter Highway to 90th South, with again the goal to reduce the weaving that occurs when you get on and off at some of these interchanges, which creates friction within our flow. And so this project is sort of that continuation of the theme that we had from 90th to I-215. Any questions on this? The next one. So continuing on I-15, where that project left off at I-215, this project picks back up and adds a lane from I-215 northbound to 6 south. Along with this lane widening, there's some ramp improvements around I-80, again, to sort of help with some of those weaves that we get in these interchange areas, to help steady the flow out in this area. Okay, next one.
Mr. Chairman, may I just make,
Go ahead.
Robert, are we having any extra accidents on that? I've had some informal comments, but people saying the weaving and everything else, and with the new changes, are certainly disconcerting to some older drivers, of which I'm one, but I don't have that problem. But I was just wondering if there's any heightened challenges that we're seeing in reality with the recent changes there.
I'm not aware of any challenges. In fact, I think that the data that I've seen shows a reduction in accidents in the area. It is new, right? And with anything new, there is some confusion. And the signing that we had until we got the extra lane striped, some of the signing tended to be a little bit confusing. But my latest conversations would suggest that that is sort of steady stated over time, that confusion that was created.
Okay, good. Well, drivers are drivers, and appreciate that. And I think, of course, the familiarity will help going forward. But thanks for being sensitive to that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that what we saw immediately during the opening was that people were used to trying to get over to I-215 in the normal spot, and now needing to access that before 90th South. That was the confusion. But I think it's steady stated over time.
Good. Well, I'll keep you advised about what I hear at the various receptions I go to, because I kind of downplay that I'm a transportation commissioner every time there's a change here. So anyway, appreciate that. Thanks.
Well, please deflect all of those thoughts and questions straight to my office. We'd be happy to.
Robert. Appreciate it.
This is Jim. I just love how you don't have congestion there that was always there before, from 90th South to the Belt Route. It's so nice to go through that now, not to have to worry about that congestion where it seemed like that long stretch had it there for all the time. So thank you.
I agree. I took my first ride on that yesterday and it was fantastic.
Well, that's the feedback we love to get. And the phase 2 of that project will do more of the same for the rest of those interchanges, from Bangor to 90th South. Okay, Mountain View Corridor. So right now, from Old Bingham Highway to Porter Rockwell, we have the frontage road system constructed. This is the project that actually fills in the middle of that with the freeway portion of Mountain View Corridor. So this makes a full freeway facility from Old Bingham Highway to Porter Rockwell, and with the Region 3 project, that would essentially complete a major portion of the Mountain View Corridor freeway in the southern portion of that, at least. In order to construct north of this, we have transit solutions and environmental restrictions that we have in place before we can get to that point. But this project at least allows us to address the booming traffic situations that we have down in this southern portion of the Salt Lake County. Okay, next one. And if I wasn't repetitive already with Bangerter Highway, this is the finalization of those interchanges. So this is to grade separate the interchanges from 4100 South north to California Avenue. The interesting part about this, which makes it so complex, is there's a number of intersections that are in close proximity to one another. And so the solution to this may look and feel a little bit different than some of those other interchanges as we try to address that the proximity of one intersection to the next. This portion of the environmental process, we feel, will take a lot more focus and a lot more time to figure out. And so the environmental process that's happening right now, we feel will go for a couple of years at least to address this area of Bangerter Highway. Okay, I think that's Region 2.
So this is Rob again, another Rob, talking about Region 1 project that are programmed for TIP money. This one that you have in front of you right now, I15 600 North US 89. We're currently, the commission funded back in September or October last year, I believe, $10 million for an environmental study of this particular section of I15. This section of I15 has some of the original pavement that was put in when the freeway was constructed back in the 70s, I believe, 60s and 70s. So the pavement is about as old as I am, and it served very well, but there's definitely some deterioration. We're seeing some needs as far as safety. We're seeing some needs as far as congestion. And so the environmental study is going to determine what the best alternative is to come up with here. We're looking at not just traffic, but we're also looking at stakeholders. We're looking at several of the small cities that we have through here and interchanges and how those work with not only vehicular traffic, but also pedestrians and bikes. That's going to be a major part of the study. Those are all things that we're looking at with this environmental study to come up with the best solution. We're going to come up with different alternatives to look at, and then get public input, get stakeholder input on these particular alternatives. So the amount of money that we have programmed, and this is at this point, we're still looking for what that solution is with the environmental study, but the amount of money that we have programmed is 1.7 billion. And I know that's hard to come out of your mouth. I mean, that's a lot of money, but this section of freeway is long overdue for an upgrade and for an improvement, and so we're really excited that we're programming this money. Again, the schedule that you see at the bottom of the page is still somewhat tentative, but the current environmental study is scheduled to meet in 2023, and then that will give us a couple years after that, depending on what the solution is, to come up with a design and purchase right-of-way, and then begin construction in 2025. So a few years out still, but we have a lot of work to do to be able to come up with a transportation solution that's going to work for this part of Davis County. Are there any questions on this one? All right, let's move on to the other one we have in Region 1. SR 108 from SR 37 to 4275 South. Now this is, we've widened SR 108 further to the south, and this is kind of the last section that will make a nice complete urban arterial all the way from Antelope Drive up to near Hinckley Drive in Ogden. So this is a kind of a connector between Davis and Weber County. This will be that last step. We completed an environmental document on this several years ago, and we've been, as money has become available, we've been kind of moving north on this corridor to be able to take care of the needs for traffic and safety in this part of the counties. So this one has a funding of 123 million. This is quite a few years out still. We're going to be starting our design in 2027 and right away purchase in 28 and 29 with construction beginning late in 2029. So we've got a few years on this one, but it's again, as with all the projects we've talked about today, is a needed project and will reduce delays and improve safety along this corridor. Are there any questions on this one? Okay, well, go ahead.
I was just asking if anybody has a question, ask. Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you. Well, in comparison, as a middle child, Robert, you get all the attention, all the money for Region 2.
Yes, spoiled middle kid.
But Ben, is that a wrap up of this list?
That is programming, capacity programming into 2030 recommendations. So yeah, I'll go back up to the top.
He knows what I'm about to ask him, doesn't he? He's anticipating the question. So just to summarize where we are, there are maybe a couple points I want to make. I want to make sure you guys, I know that there are a lot of people behind the people you see on the screen, but the work that it took by I can't count how many people helped contribute to these two lists. This amounts to $5 billion worth of programming for roadway projects. And when Ben made a subtle comment about on a very cold day, the reason that's memorable is I have to apologize to lots of our team members who we said, this is a lot of money and this is really important. We think we need to be in the same room together, working out a lot of details about how we program out through 2030. So we had, probably 15 people in a room, with a big room, socially distanced, with masks on, with all the doors open. And it was bitterly cold. And I do remember that Ben went to find more stocking caps for people to put on. And he also traded places with Becky Bradshaw, who was close to a door and was freezing to death. And we needed Becky to stay in the room because Becky creates all the projections for us so that we know what we think our revenue will be out through 2030, subtracts how much we're paying in bonds. That gives our group the money to know that we have to work with. So, and then we also, beyond that, we have a group that meets monthly that is constantly looking at active cash flow and trying to manage the best we can. So the commission sets the project funding level, and then we're managing behind the scenes to make sure we've got the cash flow in the right years and trying to help projects deliver in the best time frame possible. So anyway, big shout out to all the people behind the scenes and all the way through session, regions giving us all kinds of information so we could start to shape these lists a little better. But one thing I want to add to that is there were the questions about Logan Main Street, and it was number 8 on our prioritized list. We know that's a very important project for the community. And as Lisa and I talked about this, our thoughts are that once they have a solid plan, they have some agreement on how they want to go forward on Logan Main Street, we think we can leave enough room in the program in 2030 that when they're ready with a concept and they have an estimate on cost, that they could come back to the commission and say, we're ready, we have a project, we understand what we want to try to do, that they could bring that to the commission and request programming the project at that point. We have room in 2030 to be able to account for that. And then if we needed to, we could adjust that program timing wise over time. That's the thing that we're always looking at, where can we adjust the cash flow? So just want you to know that's some of our thoughts on how we would handle the Logan Main Street issue, knowing, since it was number 8 on the list, we don't think it should have to wait beyond 2030 to be looked at again. We think that deserves a placeholder for it to be readdressed once there's a solid plan for how they want to move forward.
Wayne, does that feel like the right way to address this?
Yes, I think so. That makes sense. But my understanding is that they're pretty much on the same page already with this. I'll have to check again with the local authorities to see if that's really true. But it's my understanding that they do have a concept that would be workable.
Good idea.
Okay.
Carlos, it's about midpoint. Should we take a 5 or 6 minutes break?
I was just, Nagi, I was just going to first see if there was any other questions. That was a lot of material and then suggest exactly what you said. But almost $5 billion. And there's a lot of, I think you guys know this, but there's a lot of assumptions built into this.
Sure.
We make assumptions on projected revenues coming in. We're making assumptions based on, when we estimate projects, we inflate them in the year that we're proposing for construction. But we're making assumptions on that inflation rate and a lot of other things behind that. So that's where the commission, working with the department, we will have that we have that flexibility to be able to make adjustments based on new information that comes in. We like to think the money will come in faster and we move projects up, but if money comes in slower, we have to slow projects down. And so it's that back and forth, and you guys know we do this every month, we make those adjustments. So any questions on all of this process or individual questions of projects?
Commissioner Cramer, if you don't have questions, please lower your hand.
He just likes to have his hands up.
I know.
Nagi, I suggest maybe come back at 10 o'clock. It's I have 10 of 10 here right now.
That's right.
Or almost, and I think we've gotten through really, I think the biggest piece of this agenda. So I think we're going to be successful on our goal of time.
Okay.
Okay, 10 o'clock.
Return 10 o'clock, folks. Thank you.
Yeah. Ben, are we going to start with you and then you're going to turn it to Ivan?
Yeah, I'll give a brief intro and then Ivan will share his screen and
okay,
we'll go from there.
We'll wait till it turns 10 o'clock.
Thank you for the break, much needed.
Well, good, I'm glad. Next time we'll have a popcorn.
Okay, 10 o'clock. You ready for us to plow ahead, Nagi?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Ben, take us away.
Thank you. So we're going to switch into our Transportation Fund and Federal Highway Fund portion. And the first thing we're going to talk about is our Transportation Solutions projects. So I'm going to have, I guess before we do that, before I forget, I'm going to have Ivan, can you share your screen, Ivan, and start at the UDOT website?
I don't see, there he is.
So I just wanted to highlight, to wrap up the last discussion, just to show everybody, if you can navigate to the Transportation Commission website. And towards the middle of the page, under the heading Programming, we've got those project lists that we just went through for the legislated projects that we just talked about, and then the regular Transportation Investment Fund project. So click on like the legislated projects link, and probably have to make it a little bit larger. So thank you to Laura Hallen for helping us figure out how to make a PDF with clickable links. This is the little things that Terry mentioned of behind the scenes. So this is that list with a clickable link to each one of those project summaries that we went through. So this replaces the list that we had there last month, which was just the project description. So now this list is there on the website. If you go back to the website page, there is that submit comment button that was there last month, and it will remain there. So going forward, that's one way to submit a comment for anybody that would like to on the projects. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight that's the spot to go for these lists. So with that, I'm gonna turn the time over to Ivan to give a intro to the programming application and orient us, and then we'll start into the Transportation Solutions projects. I think you're muted, Ivan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Since we've already navigated here to the Transportation Commission website, just below the list that Ben has just talked about as our draft STIP, we have the process, which is the slides that Ben used this morning that went through the programming calendar and the items. The programs that we discussed last month that went through and talked about the funding that we received, the federal highway funds, the Transportation Investment Fund takedown, and our Transportation Fund and how it goes through and funds those projects. And now we're moving into the project section. So taking this link here takes us to our STIP application, our project application. A couple of things just to overall navigation. Up here in the left-hand corner, there's a programs button, and this program button interacts with this, or it presents the same programming list, the program list that we saw last month with the programs. So if I click on it here, we'll see our Transportation Investment Fund, Transportation Solutions. Under pavements, we see high volume, low volume, and reconstruction, and on through the rest of the list.
Across the top, we can filter with statewide projects, region 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we also have our map, the proposed projects, the unfunded needs. This comes into play for our transportation solutions list of projects, the commission approved, and the design and construction. And just the design and construction is basically a subset of this commission approved. The commission approved is pulling an active project list. So if we are going through a project closeout, there's no more physical activity being done on the roadway. It's all the paperwork and the final invoices. Those projects will be removed from this commission approved list. So under the design and construction, this is a subset of the commission approved list. So projects that are currently still in design versus are there barrels on the road, kind of a question. So that's a general overview of the project app. Believe our first round, we're going to be walking into our statewide transportation solutions. Ben, do you have a preference on who's the first speaker for this round?
I'm looking at Robert. No, I'm just kidding. Let's keep the same order. Let's keep the same orders that we went through throughout the day, just to keep some consistency. So I would suggest going to transportation solutions and starting with region 4.
Okay. Let me back up real quick. Under TIF, if I click on the TIF list here, the proposed tab here, it does reference the same two lists, the legislative list and the TIF highway projects list that Ben's been talking about. So that's where those two are under the proposed for TIF. So backing back up to the STIP programs, I'm going to click on transportation solutions. If I select on region 4, it's going to narrow down our region 4 list of projects.
And just to intro this, I think the idea here was to let the regions go through, not necessarily going through every summary sheet as we did before, but show the list and highlight it projects as they desire. So turn the time over to region 4.
Okay, well, thank you, Ben. This is Monty Aldridge, the Deputy Director for Region 4. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about our transportation solutions project that's been said many, many times in the past. This is a great program for us to address various needs throughout the region. And as you can see on our project list there, the first one, we address things from passing lanes to bridge rehabilitation to lighting upgrades, and just various types of projects. That the program it's very important for us to be able to address the very diverse amount of needs that we have in the region. So a couple of ones that I want to highlight is the passing lane there on 191. That's just as you exit I-70 and head south towards Moab. Oftentimes when you take that exit, you'll get behind a recreational vehicle or a truck or something. And so this will create a passing lane that will allow us to relieve some of that pent up pressure for folks wanting to get around those slow moving vehicles. That'll be a great improvement on that corridor. And then also number 2 on there, the second project.
Monty, let me interrupt you for a second. Okay. I apologize. On this overview, a couple of other little items. This program briefing, you see these are green. Anytime that is red, it means that we do not yet have that one pager of program briefing. So the project that Monty just talked about, these clickable links, if I take this, it pulls up that same similar look and feel to the project information that Ben has been talking about and using this morning. So to Monty's point, here's the map, I-70 coming off of I-70 heading south. Just a quick little overview about each one of these projects. So you can click this program brief and it provides that. If you're just interested in the where, you can click on that project location and it will provide a quick little map. No other information other than just the where that project is located. So there, you've got these two options, either the program brief that provides that one-pager view or the clicking on the pin description for that project location. All right, sorry, Monty, go ahead.
No problem, Ivan. Thank you for helping with that clarity. Also wanted to visit just a moment about the Northern Corridor. That's the second project listed on there. We received the ROD for this, and the ROD is a record of decision for the environmental impact statement. We received that back in January, and so we are going to start off with this $2 million to begin doing design and develop the plan of development for the new roadway. And that'll allow us to get started on this project. That'll be very important for Washington County. Going on to one other one I just want to mention, one that is, I think, really important to our crews in the area is the 70 box beam replacement. That's the last project on our list there. It's a $2 million project to begin replacing a box beam barrier. And that's the only place in the state that we have this barrier, and it's in Salina Canyon, a very kind of a windy, curvy mountain road. And the challenge with it is that when it does get hit, it requires quite a bit of labor to get out there and replace it. And it exposes our crew to traffic in a situation where they're in very tight quarters and very difficult situation to put them in. And so we're beginning the process of replacing it. Again, like I said, the barrier is outdated, and this will be a great opportunity to improve not only for the traveling public, but also for our crews, to improve the safety for them as they perform their job duties. The rest of the list is, again, a compilation of a lot of variety, lighting, with extensions, things of that nature. If there's any questions on those, I'd be more than happy to go into more depth. Ben, I don't know if this meets what you anticipated as far as giving an overview.
We have a question from
Commissioner Law. Yeah.
Well, not so much a question as a comment, and maybe as we think about Commissioner Mendlove joining our Mendlove. Sorry, it's been a long morning already. Just the fact that these transportation solutions are my favorite monies that we get to work with, because they allow for nimble activity that is totally solution oriented. And I just appreciate the fact that you're keeping your punch list active, and it's something that we get a chance to help facilitate in a much more timely fashion than some of the other things that we're looking to program, in 29 and 30. These are all, notice, 22 projects.
Absolutely. It's very gratifying for us at the region level as well to be able to get these quick hitters, so to speak, that provide some solutions almost immediately. And as far as transportation timing, these are as immediate as they get. And it's very beneficial. Thank you.
My favorite part. Thank you.
I'll jump in real quick to add a detail that I probably should have mentioned when we went over the program values last month. Transportation solutions is part of that, and one of the exercises is trying to determine how much is available for transportation solutions and how then that can be allocated. So just to give some background, I believe where we ended up this time is about $11.3 million per region. So each region, they've got their list of items that they want to try to get to, and then the allocation recommendation helps determine which projects they can get to each year with this list. So hopefully that gives some background about how that works.
Okay, any other questions regarding our Region 4 project?
Monty, $2 million for the Northern Corridor is going to be enough for you to do this study? It's a massive undertaking.
That's going to begin the design and the plan of development. We believe that will get us a good start on that, and then we'll see where we end up with developing that.
Are you going for 2-lane, 4-lane? What is the outcome?
I think the intent of that is to try to decide that through the plan of development, and perhaps build, get the design done, and then perhaps release to build some of the drainage and fencing, and work through and see how the funding comes forward.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monty. Well, I guess we'll jump into Region 3 then. I want to highlight the first project on the list there, Ivan. This is the US 6 area that's just east of I-15 as you exit the freeway and drop down into Spanish Fork. This is a very congested and busy area that's undergoing development and redevelopment. There's a lot of area that's available for development just to the kind of the northeast or the upper right portion of that. There's a lot of open fields. Intermountain Healthcare is this month opened a new hospital that's shown there in blue. There's a lot of pressure on this area, and this corridor needs some capacity enhancements at the intersections. And so we're looking at that with this project to try to make operational improvements that will create a bridge between now and the phase 2 project that's planned to reconstruct the interchange in I-15, which will likely have to address issues to the east as well. So we're seeing this as an interim solution to develop, some operational improvements that can complement the tremendous development pressure that's happening in this area. So there's also a pavement need to reconstruct the pavements failing at Expressway Lane, and this project would address that as well, using $500,000 of high volume pavement money. And we're projecting this to be under construction in fall of 2022.
Rob, would you please elaborate on the operation improvements on an intersection? What do you mean? Is signal change or the improvement of the signals or the lights? What do you mean by operation improvement?
Yes, thank you. So what we'll look at is are there sufficient turn lanes? And in both cases, we would be adding left turn lanes, and then maybe making the storage for the turning movements longer. So that we can get the vehicles that want to turn out of the flow of traffic, so they're not blocking through vehicles. It's those kind of improvements.
Okay. Because I know I've been stuck in that particular destination, waiting to see who's going to make the first turn and turn somebody else's, or it's kind of like a courtesy call.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, Ivan. Could you open up the drainage, the third one? So this is a project that existed in the last step cycle, and we're proposing it again. This is $2.5 million that we use to address drainage issues that are happening around the region. And, drainage is so important to what we do. Our ability to keep water away from the roadway is critical to the life and the longevity of the pavements. It can even impact safety. In the case of the big brush creek that's pictured to the left, it actually, because of the failure of that culvert, it threatened the roadway and caused us to have to close portions of that roadway for a time. And had it continued on the path it was on, it would have probably taken out the roadway. So, it's important that we get these drainage improvements in place in a timely fashion, and that we're able to keep on top of it. I was just recently out visiting with the Eureka Shed, and they have a project using this funds from last year where they're extending the culverts so that the end of the culvert is 20 feet or so, 20 to 25 feet away from the roadway. And then they come behind that and flatten the slope up to the road so that vehicles, if they leave the road, can recover easier from being errant. And those kind of projects, a lot of our rural roads, the culverts are not long enough to allow that type of activity. And so this money really gives them the opportunity to make those kind of improvements that have such a big impact on safety. And that's just one example, but our crews are out there. If a culvert has failed and if it's metal, say, and the bottom is worn out, I think Region 4 had one of these culverts recently that they brought to the commission. We'll go in and we'll put a lining in that culvert, a rubber plastic lining that will extend the life of the culvert, and keep it functional and safe. We're proposing this funding once again in Region 3. Are there any questions about that one? I think that's a good highlight of these, Ben.
Thank you. Ready for Region 2?
Yeah, this is Brad Palmer. Robert asked me to present on our transportation solution projects. So we've got 9 projects that we're proposing for funding. We worked really closely with our different groups here at the region and came up with a pretty varied type of project. We've got choke points, maintenance, ITS, quite a number of them. And you see that there's 4 of them that we're actually proposing adding additional funds to existing projects. Some of those are local government projects. A couple of them are UDOT projects. But as we got into design, we found that there were additional improvements that we could throw a little bit of extra money at and create some pretty good benefit. The couple that I wanted to highlight this morning, Ivan, if you could select 15619, the top one there. This is the on-ramp to I-15 5300 South. And if you've ever driven that ramp, if you're going eastbound to get onto northbound I-15, you encounter a yield condition on that ramp. And we get quite a bit of phone calls from the public. They don't like to have that yield condition. A lot of them aren't expecting it. It's a little bit unusual on our ramps. And we've had several accidents there in the last few years. And so what we're proposing is to remove that yield condition, widen out the ramp a little bit to allow an extra lane there so that you can just drive right on and then start to merge in with traffic. We just recently completed the same type of improvements on the southbound ramp, the same interchange with the I-15 southbound project, and it's working very well. And so for 1.7 million, we feel that we can get a great improvement here. See any questions on this particular project? Okay, Ivan, if you could go to 18463. We wanted to highlight this. Over the last several years, you're probably aware that we've been replacing all of our overhead signs in Region 2. We've got 2 projects remaining that would get them all completed. This one would be on I-15 northbound. So everywhere that the current I-15 northbound project is not located, this would replace those remaining signs. So pretty much from about 215 going northward. These projects have been really good for the region. As Commissioner Cramer has pointed out in the past, it improves the way that the traveling public, the visitors, see our road system. So it improves the image of the state, but it also provides some benefit just with the new technology that we've got in the sheathing. It allows us to eliminate lighting that we currently have on some of these signs. The sheathing is so reflective now that we can actually remove that lighting, and the headlights themselves provide enough reflectivity that you can see them very bright at night, even brighter than when you've got lights on them. A lot of these signs were installed back when the Olympics were when I-15 was rebuilt for the Olympics, and you can see from the pictures here, some of them are peeling and faded, and they just don't look very good anymore. So for $3 million, we want to get the northbound piece of I-15, and then next year, all that we'd have left would be the southbound piece on I-15, pretty much from 201 northward, where the current southbound project does not take care of those signs.
Mr. Chairman, Brad, that is excellent. This is Commissioner Cramer, no surprise, but it really makes a difference. We get so many visitors, and thank you very much for doing that. We love the Transportation Solutions for its flexibility, and this will make a difference. So big thanks from the viewing public, as we say. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then one last quick project here, Ivan, if you could click on 16449. This is a maintenance project that we've been trying to fund for several years. And I just wanted to point this out mainly because we anticipate this would be a two-phased project. Back in 2013, we replaced a big drainage trunk line in Parley's Canyon. It's about 66 inches is the diameter of the pipe. And as you can see from that middle picture, that's the old corrugated metal pipe that's no longer in use. We've replaced that, but it's still in the ground. The project at the time didn't have enough funds to backfill that pipe, and so it's still empty and it's deteriorating. And we want to be able to fill that pipe so that it doesn't eventually start to sink and cause the road to be slough. And so this project would go in, it would fill that pipe with backfill or flowable fill. And then phase 2 of the project that we would most likely propose next year, if you look at the pictures on the left and the right, that's a tunnel structure that goes under I-80 over to the Kilgore pit. It's got, if you can see from the pictures, it's got water coming through the walls, the concrete starting to peel off a little bit. So as part of the funding for this project is we would have an analysis done by the engineer to determine what remediation efforts would be needed for that structure. And then we would, from that analysis, we'd come back next year and seek funding to put the fixes in place for that particular box structure. So this project, we're asking for 2.5 million, and most likely we'll be back next year asking for additional funds. And that's everything. Those are the three that we wanted to highlight in Region 2. Does anyone have any questions on any of the list? All right, thank you.
And I just, this is Rob again from Region 1. I just want to echo the, that we appreciate and thank the Transportation Commission for programming these projects. While they may seem, when you're talking small dollars, we just programmed something like $5 billion worth of other projects. And I know these are small dollars, but they make a big difference in the communities and for the facilities that we're working with. So I really appreciate those. And as a region director, it helps to be able to address these needs that, while small, maybe also are very important. Ivan, if you could maybe just click on that first one, that I-15, I-84 fence replacement, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of these. Now, this is not something that you see very often as a project, but when the freeway was first installed back in the 60s and 70s, the fencing was put in. A lot of this is the original fence. Now, in a lot of areas, in urban areas, this is probably not as big of an issue, but in rural areas where you've got a lot of cattle up against the fence, they push through it. Those of you who have worked with cattle understand that you have to maintain those fences, and we've tried to maintain them, but some of them are so rusty that they're breaking off when a cow will lean against it. And what that leads to is the possibility of those cattle getting out on the freeway. And so this project would be to replace a large amount of fence on both I-15 and I-84 in Box Elder County. This is something that our maintenance crews just don't have the funding in their maintenance budgets to keep up with. And so we felt that this was an important enough of a safety issue to be able to fund it with our Transportation Solutions funds. The other project that I wanted to talk about is the SR 13 turn lanes at 1400 South, 19135 there. And we get this situation a lot. This is near Bear River High School in Garland. So up again in Box Elder County. And this is again a small community. There's not a lot of projects that come through here. The area is growing. It's not the type of growth that you see in Region 2 on the west side of Salt Lake Valley, like Robert has talked about in his. But this particular need is the high school. When high school lets out, this becomes quite a congestion issue and a safety issue. And so this project will take $1.4 million and improve this intersection to make it better sight distance, better turn lanes to be able to address the congestion at this particular intersection and improve safety. So, and you'll see in our list of projects, if you want to go back, Ivan, you'll see that we have several other projects that are similar to this, where we're improving an intersection for safety and capacity. And this is a very good use, I feel, of this type of money to be able to address those community needs where it may be a small need, but it's also very important to that particular community. So I'll take any questions that you might have on any of the other projects or those two at this time. All right. Thank you for your time.
Rob, before you take off, I just want to say thanks for the Bear River High turning lanes and the fencing. Those are critical issues in Box Elder County. I'm a Box Elder County native, Bear River High graduate, and
great.
My father was a cattle rancher, and those fences are a huge issue, and this will be great improvement for safety. So thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. So that's the Region Transportation Solutions projects. And then we do have 4 projects that fall under the statewide transportation solutions category. I know that there was some text messages going back and forth this morning with some Murphy's Law system issues. It looks like some of those have been resolved, and we'll keep working on those to make sure that all the information is available as far as the program briefing. So thank you, Ivan, for all the audibles that you probably had to pull behind the scenes in the last hour or so. I'll just quickly touch on each one of those projects. The top one there is a grant match project for an approved grant that we have in Troy Peterson's area related to the connected autonomous vehicle ecosystem. I don't know, Troy, did you want to mention anything about that one in more detail?
Yeah, I can. There we go. You got the one pager there. Yeah, that's the only one that doesn't have the link in there. But the idea behind this one is we got this ATC MTD grant. We talked about this earlier in January at the commission meeting. This is allow us to expand our connected vehicle data ecosystem project. You may be familiar with that. We've had a couple of presentations. Blaine Leonard from the Traffic Management Divisions come out and provided some really cool presentations on that side. This is really going to help us expand our this actual project and do some additional roadside units, add some more vehicles to the system to be able for us to expand and also to look at some more deployments in the rural areas, like some roadway departure warnings, some VSL advisory warnings, and as well as some pavement condition monitoring applications. So we're excited for this. This helps us move this project along a little bit further. This money from this ATC MTD grant will actually be applied to a project that was already, you guys were familiar with. It was programmed a couple of years ago. So this just keeps that project moving forward. Any questions I can hopefully help answer on that one, or if not, phone a friend. That's all I had, Ben.
Thanks, Troy. So the second one on the list, that is a match for the infra grant that we talked about last month at commission meeting for the 56 West shared use path. So that is, I guess that would be considered a contingent request for if that grant was awarded to do the match. So I'm not going to go into too much detail unless there's specific questions, because we did talk about that one last month, but that's for the grant match for that project. The next one, so Ivan Marrero talked about some highway infrastructure federal funding a few months back, and one of the allowable uses of that federal funding was electric vehicle charging infrastructure. And so we are recommending or proposing a project for $2.5 million to coincide with the electric vehicle infrastructure plan that Lyle McMillan in our strategic investments area is developing. So that's a request for $2.5 million for that program to advance electric vehicle charging infrastructure using that allowable federal funding. And then the last one is an enhanced striping project for $6 million, and that one is similar to the project that we discussed last year for $20 million, I believe. So it would add some additional funding to keep going with that enhanced striping implementation, which is always a need in various locations. So those are the four. Go ahead.
The question I have, is this for permanent striking or temporary striking? What is the scope of this completely? 60% of the complaints I get is on striping and line staining. Are we making progress there and getting improvement besides going back to the old paint we used to use?
I may look to Lisa to decide who the best person to start, if we on the spot, Lisa, but the best person to talk to the striping.
I would nominate Robert Miles to chat about striping.
Thank you.
You bet. What can we do for you?
Well, the question is a week ago Tuesday, I traveled the third worst time I've ever came back to the basin. It was a snowy, wet storm. The highway wasn't that slick, but the lines were covered. A lot of the lines were disappeared. I have a great appreciation. It used to be this way for the roto mill and the guiding of the line, but we still have a lot of areas that we don't have that. But when you're 2.5 hours from the Fruitland to Vernal, it's not a fun trip. But the question I have is the lines, we just don't seem, we paint them and they look good, but by the time the winter's over, they're pretty well gone. Are we getting any progress on developing a striping material that is going to last longer than one winter? Or is that just what we have to deal with?
Well, I think what we're worrying about here, what we have here is a couple of different issues. One is the waterborne paint really hasn't changed technology. The latex paint is kind of what it is. It's how we apply it, and whether or not we can groove something in or whether or not we can provide a different type of striping. We've been spending a lot of effort, and we've got some good proposals and some good plans together on how to update our striping matrix or how we choose to put markings down in different areas of the state. So Commissioner Mantasso, I would say we are making progress in that. This particular project that we're talking about, the $6 million addition, would be to add money to the $20 million project we had to improve some urban area striping. We're focusing on trying to cover durable markings on our highest volume roads. And these markings will be enhanced markings that will have wet reflective properties that would help with some of the concerns you brought up in the storm conditions, allow striping to be seen better when it's covered by water, and also to increase the width of some of our striping. We've documented some safety benefit with that, and that's part of our long-term plan, is to work into those solutions.
Well, I encourage you to work on that, because that is, particularly in the rural areas, those lines and storms become critical.
Yes, sir.
As you well know. So.
Yes, sir. We're taking it really seriously. So.
Thank you.
Robert, can we use the permanent markers to do the striping of the roadways? They last longer.
The permanent markers, the inlaid markers, Commissioner?
Yes.
We've tried those with some success and some failure.
Really?
Yeah, they work for a bit, but we have a little bit of trouble keeping them in with our plowing operations from time to time. So, and there's a question of cost effectiveness on some of those. We can do an awful lot with the other pavement markings for the same price. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question going back to that bit on the recharging stations for electric vehicles. I assume there is a means of paying for that charge, kind of like you pay at a gas pump. Is that how that works?
Yeah, it can work many different ways. I think that's one of the things that Lyle in our strategic investment area is working on, depending on where it is, and looking at private sector partnerships on the electric vehicle charging, whether or not it's available for free in a location or via a charge. I don't know if anybody else has any additional information that could be added with that.
I maybe would just add, Ben, that I think what Lyle's been trying to do is leverage as one of these. We've worked with lots of grants so far. We've not actually programmed federal money to it ourselves yet, but we have had grants we have worked with, and what they try to do is get a private entity to partner to cover the ongoing electrical so that we're not paying for that. But I think there's going to be different models of it across the state, because there are some locations where it's hard to incentivize private industry to join in on it. But if we don't have that 50-mile spacing that we're going for, having a charging station every 50 miles, it hinders people from wanting to adopt the electric vehicle technology. So that's what we're working towards. And there are some areas where it just private industry is not incentivized to be there. And that may be where we need to step in and say, if nobody else is willing to do it here, this may be some place that we have a role in helping make it happen. So I think we've got lots of different models. Some places, private entity will cover the electricity. We do have the ability over time, I think, to, as we set these up, they all have we do a lot of ours through ChargePoint, and you do have the ability at some point in the future to change that model and be able to actually charge for the charge, so to speak. So I think it's ever evolving, and I think there's a lot of policy implications to it, but we would have the ability to adapt to any of those policy changes over time. That was a really long answer to a short question.
Thank you.
And Terry, maybe I'll add just a little bit more to it just to make it longer. We were directed by the legislature to develop this infrastructure plan, and that will be reported to the legislature in June of this year to basically come up with that 50-mile spacing. Governor Cox has this as one of his initiatives on his roadmap of what he wants to achieve as a state. So this has been told to us clearly from both the governor and the legislature that this is an important initiative. I can tell you that the governance structure, the business model of this is still an evolving conversation. We've had multiple conversations with the legislature. So not quite sure where it's going to land right now, but we saw this as an opportunity to advance those initiatives. Lou, you have your hand up. I don't know or is Wayne, you have your hand up again? Is it?
No, Lou has the same hand since last night.
Oh.
And lower it, Lou.
Apologies. I'm just so excited. I'm sorry. I'll take it down. I'm just
High
figuring this
five.
legal stuff
High
out.
five, Lou. High five.
There you go. Got it. Got it. Good work, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, the EV is happening everywhere, worldwide, but Utah is again leading out. So congratulations.
I mean, did you hear where Washington State has a bill working through their legislature to restrict the sale of gasoline-powered cars after 2030?
Yeah.
Oh boy. All that means is more people are going to move to Utah. Those are our best economic development entities, the California State Legislature and Washington State, and get ready for more in migration.
We're building United Nations building in St. George because we have 50 states of United States right here have a license plates and drive in southern Utah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Any other-
Are there any other wrap-up questions on the Transportation Solutions projects?
Well, I just wanted to join in with what Commissioner Law said about it. It just seems so helpful to have that flexibility, that responsiveness, and it's smart, the ones you've chosen. So keep those signs coming and everything else. So thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, I'll have Ivan switch over and go through the structures rehab and replacement project program and list.
So our request today was to go just to walk through our STIP application, make sure that everybody felt comfortable navigating in it, as well as showcasing these projects similar to our transportation solutions. We do not expect to present every project. However, if there's questions, we will respond to every question. So maybe we can get to every project, but we'll take that at the direction of the commission. So under our STIP programs, again, upper left-hand corner, we have our structures listed here, our rehab and replacement. Here is our list. Here we have a proposal of 6 projects. You can see across the regions, 4 in region 1, 1 and 2, and then 4. Again, each of these projects have their own program briefing, as well as the location for this pin description, whether it's a replacement, new bridge and structure, and the project value, as well as the projected start year. So I do know that I saw Cheryl a minute ago on the list. So we have Cheryl available, as well as each of the regions that would be available to answer any questions on our list of the 6 projects. So I will open the floor up.
Ivan, one thing I'll just ask, maybe with the next 3 agenda items, are you able to show the map of the statewide map of the proposed projects, just to kind of give a scale of location on these?
Yes, thank you, Ben. So again, shown here on our map, region 1, region 2, and then a couple in region 4.
Thank you. And you can go back to just wanted to point that out, and you can go back to the list for any questions or highlights.
These are the same projects that were presented with the region workshops back in March, the middle of February through the beginning of March.
Just a little feedback on those rural areas, bridge replacements, especially Grouse Creek and Snowville areas. Those are really remote, and that will be very helpful. It's a small population area, but areas that usually don't get much attention. So thank you. That's great. And maybe we could do a field trip to Grouse Creek someday so people would know. One of the more remote areas of northwestern Box Elder County. So anyway, thank you.
My assumption is that all of these bridges that we're looking at here will come off our watch list. They've been on there and they'll now come off, right? Cheryl?
Yeah, the majority of especially those local bridges are in poor condition, and some of them are also load restricted. So this will help put them obviously in good condition as new structures and remove the load restrictions that are on them.
Does that mean we'll get up to a B- instead of a C+?
Just remember, we were the top of the country with a C plus. So I think grading on a curve should have been an important part of this, and we should have been A plus. But
should have been A plus.
No,
you
we
are
do.
A plus in our book, Carlos. Don't worry.
There are a lot of these needs on these these bridges that sometimes are carrying lower volumes. But we have a lot of bridges in the state, and there's a lot of needs out there. And I think we've looked at, the age distribution of our bridges in prior commission meetings. We have some old bridges. And so this is not, this is not as much as we might think we can finish this and be done with, these bridges, this is not something that you finish. This is something that you keep doing continually. So, we'd like to make progress, but there's going to keep being new bridges added on the back end. So
Commissioner
don't get disillusioned.
Yeah, I have a question on 18257. Quite a bit of money there for near Tremont. Any of those on I-15, or are they elsewhere?
How about Rob or Cheryl talk to this?
Yeah, so these are structures that cross in that area. We tried to do them as part of an earlier preservation project, but the condition had deteriorated too much. So now we have to go in and do a little bit more robust with some deck replacements. And so right now these bridges are continual hardships for our maintenance crews. They're continually patching these. And so this will help eliminate a lot of the issues that they're having with those bridges.
Thank you.
Okay. If we're all right to proceed, we'll move to our pavement programs. Again, clicking programs at the top under our pavements, that we do have these little sliders that help manage that. Under pavements, we have our high volume list of projects. There are more high volume projects out here than our structures projects. And there's 83 projects listed under our proposed section. We do not plan on going through each one.
Unless you'd like to.
Unless you would like to.
Can you show the map on that one, Ivan? That might be a helpful visual. Many pavement projects, high volume pavement projects throughout the state in this program.
And part of our goal, like with the region workshops, this and today's meeting, is to put a spotlight on these projects, how information's available, and direct people to under our Transportation Commission website, this big submit comment button here, as well as here. They go to the same location where we're trying to drive or allow people to come in, take a look at these proposed projects, provide comment for the commission. Back to the calendar that Ben talked about as well. This is the list of the projects that we're presenting for this month. Next month, we will come back with the commission. Actually, in June, we'll come back to the commission, asked to publish these projects to the draft STIP, which will open it up even more or it's another medium that we can highlight and allow more public comment to be gathered.
You want to jump to the low volume?
Okay. Under our
Pavement
low
projects.
low volume, we'll do the same, staying here on our map, shown here on our map. Oh, my word. Somebody take my mouse away. Our low volume project list here. Total of 16 projects and our low volume. And down here at the bottom of our list, just like this one here showing the top 10 projects. You can navigate between the pages to see the remaining. It does show us at the bottom also a list of our program distribution for this proposed project list.
We had to come up with a random wheel spinner to pick a project to just highlight next year. Maybe that's what we'll work on with these lists that are somewhat large.
Okay. Hey, Ben.
I believe that's the projects that we had slated to talk about today. So that was quite a few.
Ivan, thank you. Maybe.
Thank you. I think real quick, Carlos, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh,
I just want to make sure Ben made the comment. He gave me a little recognition for the audibles that we had to call while he was driving this morning. On that, we ran into a production move in our system this morning, and we had a couple of our staff behind the scenes just clicking away at making all of this work. Makes it look seamless. The fact we only had one pager not connected and all of our list, everything else over on that pan, the program briefing was all green, was pretty fantastic. So that, the group that came out of Nathan Lee's technology and innovation, especially Alex Gilberry, he was the one that was really helping us. And unfortunately, he's not here to hear that because he's getting his COVID shot right now. So he told him his reward was to go get a needle stuck in his arm. So appreciated his efforts this morning and his teams.
Ivan, you sound tough for, and Nathan's group. Sounds like you guys are tough to work for.
Yeah, probably.
Donna, go ahead. Ask
you.
So,
well, I was just going to point out that as we hear about the audibles and the teamwork and all of that, I think that's part of what makes our job commission easier, because we've been able to, over time, develop that level of trust, understanding how the UDOT works together, and also knowing that we can at any time, if we have questions, as we go through these 83 high volume road projects, we know who we can call on to get any additional answers or feedback. And I just think it's great that we have this kind of work put to us as we do the bidding of the state, watching these taxpayer dollars.
Thank you, Donna. Commissioner Barlow.
Yeah, I guess I wonder if Rob White could comment on the project at the marina in Garden City to extend the storage space there for people trying to get into the marina, which can become a real jam on 89 in the summertime.
Wayne, I think Commissioner Barlow, I think that that project is advertised. We've got a contractor on board. I think my thoughts are, and if Brett Slater's on, he could maybe comment on this as well. But I believe we're starting in the next couple of weeks here with that project.
Well, there's an ongoing project that's been going since, I think, January. At least the barrels are out, and they're putting a lot of dirt between that last house and the marina. So that's a good thing. And I'm just wondering when that's scheduled for finishing.
I'm not sure when that's supposed to be finished. I know the initial discussions when we talked about that project were to have it complete before the big summer rush. And so I think that's probably why you're seeing construction out there right now is to complete it before the summer rush and before the high volume of Bear Lake traffic starts happening in May and June and July and August. So I think that's what the plan is.
That's my
Brett,
thinking.
Brett joined here.
Looks
Brett,
like.
if anything you'd like to add?
No, I just was ready in case Rob needed some backup on it. No, he's correct. The project is out there, started, and it is the goal to finish that before the summer work. We do have to wait till we can get into the pavement weather window for them to do some of that stuff, but we are working through that. We're actually right now working with the marina and looking at repaving their marina a little bit too.
Commissioner Barlow, you can entice the contractor by offering raspberry shake.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other questions? Ben, would you or Ivan maybe again kind of summarize the different, touch points we have going forward? So May commission meeting, June commission meeting, the whole project approvals here for those projects. Refresh us on the 35 million TIF active, and then the STIP approval process leading up to hopefully commission approval of the STIP in the September timeframe.
Sure. So tomorrow at the commission meeting, we will be asking for approval of the program levels on the funds that we talked about last month. So that was related to the transportation fund and federal highway fund. That those correspond with, for example, that sets the amount that we have fit the project recommendations in for, like a transportation solutions program. So that's one thing we will be doing. We'll be requesting tomorrow. In looking forward a month into May, then we would request funding level approval for the project lists that we talked about today. So, for example, the legislated TIF projects, the TIF highway projects, we'd be asking for funding level approval on those. In June, we will compile the programming items and then request for approval to submit the STIP for public comment that you can see in that July timeframe. And then working forward from there, then it goes to FTA and FHWA with an approval date in October. With respect to the active transportation 35 million that you mentioned, we are now currently working on we're finalizing the data that's needed to create a prioritized list of that. So that's another list that we have on the commission website right now. Thank you, Ivan. You're reading my mind here. So this is the projects that we talked about. So there was the 35 million legislated amount. And so we're working on estimates and prioritization of these projects so that we could develop recommendations and be able to work with the locals with the 20% match requirement, working forward to an August, September timeframe for potential action on those items. And these were the regionally important active transportation projects from our department approved transportation plan. I jumped around a little bit there, so hopefully that wasn't too confusing, but maybe now after we went through all the projects, it gives it a little bit more context in how this all works together.
Nagi, that's all we had. We could entertain you guys for another hour if you'd like.
Well, Natalie is laughing, so I think she wants to. Yeah, show your talent. Otherwise,
Jim Evans is getting warmed up. That's
I am. You got to be here tomorrow for that, though.
He's scheduled for tomorrow. We need to have a filler for today.
Natalie can cover it today.
She can do it.
I'm grateful for the presentation, and I just commend the UDOT professionals for incredible work. It's really gives me a lot of confidence to see.
Well, and thank you, Natalie, and appreciate the acknowledgement of UDOT folks, but it's also all the local governments as well. You know, the 4 MPOs working with transit districts, the local governments. I mean, this is a you know, all state hands effort to get to this point.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly the Utah way of doing things, and I think Rhonda will really enjoy that with her worldwide experience. But I was in California last week visiting family, and I'm just so grateful to be in Utah when it comes to roads. So thank you all. It's just a great group. Much appreciated.
Okay. Terry, any items that we've left unsaid? Smile and a nod. No, it looks like. Lisa? Okay. I don't know if Nagi, anything, last words?
Well, just want to say welcome again, welcome back, Rhonda. It was so nice to see you and the smiley face. Keep it that way. I hope we didn't make you too tired. We will see you again tomorrow, hopefully. Then you can have a better presentation. But thank you, all the region directors, the deputy directors, all the working in UDOT family. We really appreciate every one of you. If we don't mention your name, it is not like we don't care about you. We love you. It is just that so many of you working as a team behind the scenes. Most of the time you don't get the credit, but we do appreciate every effort, everything you do. And most of the time we appreciate your families that have really taken the time to share you with us. UDOT family and the commission working together, we accomplish a lot of good stuff, and we hear that every day from people calling in, writing in, sending text messages. The first thing first, they say, we love UDOT. That is the first thing they start. And then they said, and by the way, if you have extra money, we can use it here. But we love everyone, state families, local families, MPOs. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve you. Thank you for being patient with us to make sure we're doing our due diligence in delivering these projects. So that's my message for today. Until tomorrow, 8:30 we start, Rhonda. 8:30 tomorrow. You have extra 30 minutes to sleep in.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, very much. I appreciate you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful day. Thank you.
Chris, we're done. You can turn it off. You're muted.
I'm right in the middle of texting Lisa. Like,
thanks, Chris.
see ya.